Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday evening Kabbalah session for Bnei Baruch, okay, on our YouTube channel. Once again, I'd like to say, if you're just dropped in, this lesson is not for beginners, but you're more than welcome to watch our previous lessons, which were designed for beginners as semester 1, 2, and 3, so you can get a foundation. Or if you'd like to start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, you can also go to Kabbalah.info and join the CAB-U study environment, where you can be with like-minded people. Now, last Tuesday, I had a bit of a drama, so I apologize because we couldn't do a lesson. I was simply a bit sick, and I waited for the last moment, actually, just before the lesson to see if I could pick up. Well, it was just not happening, so hopefully we'll catch up this week. Now, this week, we're going to start reading some excerpts from The Creator Heals with What He Strikes. These are selected excerpts like we're always reading, and these are from the Saturday lesson, actually. And actually, it's a really good topic, especially with what the world is going through today, with all the dramas and problems that we're having with the COVID-19. It's just, doesn't seem to end, doesn't want to end. It doesn't look like it's going to end. And also, if we take a look at the world around us, we've got a lot of natural disasters happening. The economy is always on an edge, and also a lot of problems with families, friends, all kinds of things are pressuring us from all over the place. So these excerpts will actually try to give us an understanding of what's going on with life, why it's pressuring us, and why we need to, how we need to treat these pressures. As usual, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to try and answer them as best we can. Okay. Right then. So we're going to start reading from excerpt number 1. This is from Rabash, from his article number 133. All the illnesses that I had placed on Egypt, I will not place on you, for I, the Lord, am your healer. Our sages ask, if I do not place the illness, what is the need for a healer? We should interpret that since I am the healer, why should I place on you an illness if you must heal the illness? What do I gain by placing an illness? It must be as a punishment. And if I must heal the illness, what kind of punishment is it? It is as though I work for nothing. For this reason, I will not place illness upon you, and what you think is illness, you're wrong about it. Rather, all the states you feel, if you attribute them to me, are all corrections by which you will approach me in dvekut. All right, so in life, we've got all kinds of dramas, right? So there's a reason for problems in life. And if you think about it, most of the time, the greatest achievements of humankind have always been in that really pressuring, squeezing moments in life. So we've always seemed to bring out the best in us when we're under pressure, when we're getting squeezed up. So it's not a coincidence that we've got problems happening. And also, life is also bringing these upon us so that we can actually move forward, we can advance, just like when kids are constantly falling and getting up, but they don't stop. Once they fall, they don't stay on the floor and say, yes, I'm not going to try to walk again. So they understand that this is a process instinctively, obviously. And we, as we are grown-ups, we need to understand this at an intellectual level. But all kinds of problems need to come, and we need to take a fall in order to learn from that fall and to keep on walking. So all the problems that are coming to us, we need to relate it to the Creator, and that He is actually doing all of these things to raise us somehow, even if we don't know how He's doing it or why He's doing it, because most of the time we say, why me? Why is this happening to me, right? We don't understand why we get these dramas in life. it just seems pointless. However, though, there's a point to everything, just like, on many occasions, our children don't understand why we do things, how we raise them, why we pressure them to do certain things, like go to school, study, learn things. They'd rather play with their video games or, mess around with the, mobile phone, sitting on the couch all day long. But what do? We restrict them, we put pressure on them, we get them to do stuff that they don't like. Why? So they can grow up. At that time, they don't understand why, but once they grow up, they understand that this is how it needs to be. And when it comes to raising their children, they also put pressure on their kids so that they can be somebody as well in life, right? So same with us. Unfortunately, we don't understand the process. And as long as we carry on not understanding this process, what's going to happen is we're going to feel more and more pressure. So studying the wisdom of Kabbalah will obviously enlighten us a little bit as to why the problems are coming and how we need to relate to those problems so that we can balance ourselves out. And all of that is, like he says in the last sentence here, all of these things that you're going through is actually changing you. They're called corrections in the wisdom of Kabbalah. But correction means that it changes people. Just like when we go through a lot of experiences in life, we change our attitude to things because of experiences, because of sorrow, because of, all kinds of things in life. It changes us. It makes us softer, actually. Life makes us really softer. And these are called corrections in the wisdom of Kabbalah. So the more things we're going through, actually, the better it is for us. Even though it may not feel good, obviously, even though it doesn't feel good, we have to understand that these must be, these must be lived, right? There's no other way to go about it. So let's carry on with excerpt number 2. Okay. The blow that one receives from the Creator when he takes from him the flavor of the work, by this itself he heals him, because then he has no other way to serve the Creator but with faith above reason. It follows that the blow that he received from the Creator, from this itself he can be healed, for otherwise he will remain in separation. By this we understand what our sages said, that by the blows of the Creator he feels. In other words, this is the healing, that he gives him room to work with faith without any support. All right, so that's also good. This is an approach to the study. How do we need to go about the study? Let's read this again. This is really nice, actually. The blow that one receives from the Creator when he takes from him the flavor of the work, by this itself he heals him, because he has no other way to serve the Creator but with faith above reason. So sometimes friends also say, listen, I used to have such energy. I used to be really running forward with the work. I was like really enthusiastic, full of motivation, inspired. And, after a while, I'm like feeling like I don't want to do this. I feel heavy. I'm like, no, I don't have the desire to do it, and so on. So what's going on? Well, this is exactly what's going on. The Creator is taking the taste away, the taste of the study, the taste of doing what we're supposed to be doing. And the reason he does that is because if you're constantly in this pleasure mood, you're going to just not be able to get out of your egoism. So because we're in a desire to receive pleasure for ourselves, still egotistically, what happens is the more you study and the more you get pleasure out of it, you never get to escape your ego. So the first thing that the Creator has to do is to make you study without taste. So what happens is you actually begin to do the work, not because you feel pleasure from it, but because you understand that this is something you have to do. And it's the right thing to do. Like, obviously the right thing to do is to correct ourselves, is to get out of our egoistic nature. So even though it doesn't give us pleasure to do so, we have an intellectual understanding that we need to do this. Okay. So this is how you can start to go above your desire to receive. And this is actually something that really works. So if a person understands that this is a process, and then he's actually building an understanding above his desire to receive, then that obviously is the way to go. And this is why sometimes there is no taste in the work. And this is the time when actually a person should begin to understand that he's going through a special process. And we should really value that process, actually. It follows that the blow that he received from the Creator, from this itself, he can be healed. For otherwise, he will remain in separation. And the reason for that he will remain in separation, is because, like I explained, he will be in his egoism all the time. So if I'm constantly, working out of my egoism, working out of, self-fulfillment and enjoyment, will never leave egoism, will get stuck in there forever. So the Creator is actually doing us a favor. By this, we understand that what our sages said, that by the blows of the Creator, he heals. So it actually allows us to get out of ourselves, to get over stuff. In other words, this is the healing that he gives him room to work with faith, He gives him room to work with faith without any support. Because what's the biggest support when we want to get anything done in life, right? Our biggest motivation is what we're going to get out of it. So if I start a new business, I'm thinking about the money I'm going to make. If I start a gym membership, I'm thinking about the body I'm going to get. It's always like this thing that I'm going to get, right? So as long as I've got this getting thing visualization in front of me, I've got motivation to run forward. And that way you're always stuck in your ego, because you're always wanting. So in order for us to get out of that, to work in faith, meaning above my desire to receive, in spirituality at least, that's what we're talking about. So learning to live above the will to receive is exactly the situation that the Creator gives us. And that's what we need to strive for. And as we study, we should get to that discernment. And when that happens, we shouldn't run off. We shouldn't say to ourselves, now I'm not getting any pleasure, I'm just going to leave, okay? Because that is exactly the time when you should start working. Okay, cool. Let's do number 3. Let's do this. The important thing is to know what is the real illness. It turns out that the large sum you pay a great expert compared to a doctor who's not an expert is to determine precisely what is the illness. It turns out that determining the flaw, which is considered negative, is nonetheless positive. That is, knowing the illness is actually a correction, because now he knows what to correct. It turns out that knowing the illness is part of the healing of the illness, since it is impossible to heal the illness if he's not known, if it's not known what the cause of the illness is. So same in our situation, okay? So same in this situation. What we have to do is understand what's causing us harm in life. And generally what the Kabbalist is saying is there's only one thing that causes harm to all of us, and that's our egoistic nature. Because egoism means overestimated self-value. And in order to overestimate my self-value, it means I have to lower your self-value. Now imagine everybody lowering the value of others and increasing their individual value on top of everybody else. Well, obviously we're going to have a war then, isn't it? I mean, that's obvious. So that's what our major problem is. So our egoism is causing us all the grief. And if we understand that that is the main problem, then, we've done half the job already, because I know what's wrong with me now, I can work on it. And in order to understand what's wrong with me, the Creator has to kind of bring us blows. Otherwise, how are we going to know? We can only know, we can only start to even investigate and ask what's going on if we get some kind of discomfort, if we get some kind of situation that we don't feel comfortable in, we have problems with, and so on. Accordingly, accordingly. All of us need to be shaken up a little bit in life. However, though, all of this is good because these little shake-ups bring us to asking the question, why am I living? What's the meaning of life? What do I have to change with myself? How am I supposed to change my life? All these things about changing, about doing something else, doing something new. All of these things, all these queries inside of us have to come up. And they do come up because of the problems we have in life. And if we didn't have any problems, we'd live like a monkey in a forest, all good, and just end up dead as we get old. But that would never bring us to achieving the purpose of life. So this is why our life cannot be like a comfortable monkey in a forest. Our life has to be dramatic. And from a dramatic situation, we have to raise ourselves, elevate ourselves to a higher degree than this animate level of existence that we're living in currently. So we should make sure that the problems are not so much of a problem. Okay, so I've got a question from David. Are more people dying in India because they are furthest from the Creator, and Israel is back to normal because they are closer to the Creator? I don't think we could make such a calculation. The reason is this. Look, countries like India, Brazil, who are going through really bad states at the moment, they're huge countries. Imagine having 1 billion people. I mean, how can you maintain? How can you get all those people, injected, vaccinated, all at once and, save the day? It's just not possible. Not to mention, when you get vaccinated, you also have to be, you're getting 2 shots. And I think, as far as I remember, in between those 2 shots, you also have to make sure, you don't get into an environment where there's a virus, because then the first kind of injection kind of gets nullified. So all of these things, we can't make a calculation out of. Israel is a small country. So when you're a small country with a few million people, you buy a few million shots and you vaccinate everyone pretty quickly. And the health system there is also pretty good. So everybody's, under some health cover. So all they do is, they get a call from their health cover. They say, your vaccines are here, come get it done. So unless a person voluntarily doesn't want to get it done. So, the smaller the population, the more organized you can be, the more systematic you can be. And with countries like India, also the India, it's also a cultural thing as well. There's a big pandemic and everybody's going to their religious festivals. And in India, there's a bunch of religions, all kinds of religions, so all kinds of festivities are happening all the time. So people give that a lot of importance, and because of that, they're not really paying attention to the situation that this virus may cause, unfortunately, but they'll have to pay a price for it as well. So we have to understand that this is also, we can't say they're closer, they're not closer, because the whole of humanity is closer to the Creator. We're all close to the Creator. The problem is whether we feel it or not. But from the side of the Creator, all the children, just like in the house, are equal in my eyes. In the eyes of the Creator, that's also true. So we can't make a discernment as such. It's okay is asking, is that blow from the Creator when one loses the flavor in the work also considered a descent? Yeah, it does. When you lose your liveliness, you're lacking motivation, you feel heavy, it's like you got shackles on your feet and you just don't want to move. Yeah. Why? Because it's lacking importance. So the importance of spirituality is decreasing. And when that decreases, that's like, called a descent. So you can always measure whether you're in a descent or not by asking yourself, is spirituality more important than what I'm doing right now? Okay, and if it is, you should have the energy to move. If you say in your mind, yes, it is, but I don't have the energy to move, then that's a descent as well. All right, but at least intellectually you're thinking about it, so that's also good. David's asking, Are the blows outside of me or inside of me? Well, look, the blows are coming from the outside and giving you a sensation on the inside, because we always feel good or bad on the inside. But life is throwing us all kinds of dramas. So everything is seemingly coming from the outside, but obviously everything is felt inside of us. Flobella is asking, and after the descent, how the correspondent ascent will be perceived? Well, how we perceive an ascent after a descent, first of all, we should have some kind of a discernment from the descent, right? We should come out of that descent with an understanding that, what is it that's giving me weakness? What is the situation that's making me feel weak? Why am I under a slumber? And so on, all these things. It should bring me to an understanding. And from the understanding, obviously, from an understanding, I can't just get out from a descent just with the understanding. The descent should, first of all, give me this lack of importance. Then if I'm inside the group studying, I should get some support from the friends. I should have some kind of framework that I stick to. And through the framework, I should be able to make some kind of discernments, because I should be coming to the lessons, right? So I come to the lessons, I'm learning, and it's really amazing. Every time you're in a descent, you come to the lesson, you'll get something from that lesson that will be an answer to the state you're in, which is really interesting, but that happens all the time. So once you understand what you're going through, then you actually, like he says here in the excerpt, once I know what the illness is, half the job is done. Now I can decide on how to treat that situation. Okay. So afterwards, the ascent should open up to me a new state. Rightio. Another question from Flobella. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Okay. And the question is it by acquiring little by little the qualities of the 10 Sephirot? Well, we can't really discern the 10 Sephirot at the moment, because at the end of the day, we're actually the 10th Sephirot, right? We're Malkut, we're the desire to receive. And the 9, the upper 9, is spiritual discernments. Sometimes we call it also the group, the 10. The reason is because I'm getting all my discernments from the 10. So if I'm trying to love the friends, integrate into them, bestow to them, I should be getting all of the other 9 discernments from the environment, right? And the upper 9, the other 9 Sephirot, other than Malkut, are all representing bestowal. So the attribute of bestowal and what I'm taking from the group as an attribute, as a feeling, as a sensation, or as the attribute of bestowal is the upper 9. So what am I going to do? I'm constantly be getting that little by little, gradually. But the 10th is Malkut, that's you in the group, and the upper 9 are the friends. And through our interaction in our spiritual work, I should be getting spiritual discernments called the upper 9. Okay. And another question. But if so, if they're like a fractal in the 125 degrees, will be multiplied by 10. Well, look, 125 degrees is a concept. Actually, there's much more than that. 125 is like a structure, 5 worlds, 5 Sephirot, and 5 lights. But within all of those degrees, there are also degrees as well. And they also consist of 10 Sephirot, so 5 levels of coarseness, the 5 lights that correspond to every little detail. So this whole thing is, although it's 125 degrees, that's the generality of the degrees. In other words, you're going through much more. I do apologize. You're going through much more than 125 degrees, actually. All right, great. Now we can read a little bit more. Let's read number 4. from Rabash. Okay. There is a correction from above that a person cannot see the evil, since there is a rule that one is not shown more than one can correct in oneself. It is as in corporeality. When one is not told one's true illness, if the illness is incurable. For this reason precisely, he who comes to defile, who wants to see the truth, it is opened for him. If he wants to advance and prays to be shown the true measure of the bad that is found in the will to receive for oneself, he is assisted from above, meaning he's defiled from above. That is, he is shown from above the harm in the evil inclination. At that time, he begins to pray from the bottom of the heart that the Creator will give him the desire to bestow, instead of the will to receive that he has by nature, and to be given a second nature, which is a gift from above. Let's read this again. This is rather nice. There's a correction from above that a person cannot see the evil, since there's a rule that one is not shown more than one can correct oneself. So the Creator is always going to give me, guys, what I can do. All right. He's not going to overload me at all. Just like we can't overload children, right? I can't teach my 2-year-old what a 5-year-old is learning, because he's just going to get frustrated because he's not there. There's a big gap there between his 2-year-old understanding and the understanding of a 5-year-old. So I can only give him what he can chew. I can only give him what he can take in. And how am I doing that as a parent? I'm testing the waters, making sure I give him the right kind of stuff at the right time. So the Creator, obviously, is not testing any waters. He understands us completely and perfectly since he created us. But what the Creator does is he's giving all of us what we need and what we can handle, and nothing more. So whatever he throws at you in life, you should always think to yourself, well, wait a minute, if I'm getting this, I can probably handle it. No, I mean, not probably, you can handle it. All you have to do is use the surrounding, use the environment correctly in order to relate to the situation correctly. First of all, understand that all situations are coming from the Creator. And once they're coming from the Creator, and you understand they are coming from the Creator to get you to the goal, which is to reach spirituality, to reach adhesion with the Creator, then you got two points, right? The reason why the blow is coming, and the where you should be. So I'm getting a blow and the reason for the blow, and now in between I've got something to do with what I'm going through. Otherwise, your work will come, your work will just get into a big mess. Otherwise, you feel like, why am I getting all these problems? So first of all, related to the Creator. The Creator is giving me something. Whatever he's giving me, it's for me to relate to it properly. So I'm studying the wisdom of Kabbalah in order to relate to whatever I'm getting properly, so that I can use the situation to get myself to the goal. Okay, so that's what the work is really all about. And this is why you got to use the environment. Why? Because the problems that we're all getting should be filtered and directed towards the goal. So I'm not just working with anything that comes my way. What we want to do is, with everything that I'm receiving from the Creator, I want to direct it properly, but in an effective, efficient way, productive way, so that I can use it to get to the goal. All right, so these are very important stuff. How I relate to what I'm getting. It is as in corporeality, when one is not told one's true illness, if the illness is incurable. All right, so this is like a known thing, phenomenon. Actually, we had this situation when one of my close relatives passed away. So we were sure he was going to pass away, but the doctors, never gave him, they didn't tell him he was going to die off soon, right? So they said, look, we're working on it. There's a chance, you should be positive that you're going to get well, and so on. But on the back burner, the family knew that there's no coming back, and that those days are numbered. Why? Because if you can't do anything, obviously there's no point in telling the patient and making those last days miserable as well. So same in our situation here. For this reason, precisely, he who comes to defile, who wants to see the truth, it is opened for him. So only those people who want to see the truth can come and discover it. If he wants to advance and prays to be shown the true measure of the bad that is found in the will to receive for himself, he is assisted from above, meaning he is defiled from above. So if we want to advance, to discover the truth, we have to first discover what our illness is, because the truth actually is our sick situation. And the reason we feel sick in this world is because the world is sick. And the world is only sick because humanity is sick, because we're the only unbalanced part in nature. And the whole world is losing its balance simply because of humanity. So what we have to first see, if we're studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, the things that we should be revealing through the study is the bad things that are inside of us, the things that we need to start working on in order to change them. So that's what's called defiled from above. It's not actually, defiling us as in such, but it's, the study should allow us to discover what those problematic areas that I have in me that need sorting out and correction. That is, he's shown from above the harm in the evil inclination. So we begin to understand how our egoism is causing us all the grief. At that time, he begins to pray from the bottom of the heart to the Creator. From the bottom of the heart, that the Creator will give him the desire to bestow instead of the will to receive that he has by nature, and to be given a second nature, which is a gift from above. So the whole concept here is I have to come and reveal all these bad states. Then I can come to a correct desire or a correct prayer, as it says here, from the Creator to change. I can really come to a genuine desire and say, you know what, I don't want to live like this. This is just horrible. And I want a new nature. And that new nature is the opposite of what I am right now. This is why understanding our nature is very important, because if I understand how egoism is bad for me, how it's causing me all the grief, then I can want for the opposite. Because we don't know what bestowal is. If somebody asked us, do you want to bestow? And we were to think about, who wants to bestow? We don't want to bestow. We want to take stuff. We want to get stuff. Right? We don't want to bestow. So the Creator, very smartly, obviously, gives the person the ability to discover the truth. And that truth is how of a bad situation he or she is in. Then the desire to get out of the bad becomes your desire to want to bestow, because you understand that self-reception is what's causing you harm. So then you surely want to bestow. Okay, so that should kind of create inside of us a desire for spirituality as we're studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, because through the evil we'll want to change. Okay. So let's carry on reading. We're going to read number 5, again from Rabash. Happy is the man whom the Lord afflicts. We should ask, but is the purpose of creation not to do good to his creations? Thus, this is the opposite of the goal. We can interpret that it is known that every branch wants to resemble its root. As it is written in the introduction to the book of Zohar, the whole world loves rest. However, this is like a person holding a stick in his hand and beating everyone to make them work. Hence, each one must relinquish his rest in order to be saved from the afflictions of being beaten with a stick. The stick is the afflictions when a person feels that he is lacking something. Therefore, when a person has a deficiency or having nothing to eat, he must labor in order to quiet the suffering of hunger. The bigger the lack, the more he must exert, until he is compelled to obtain the object of his yearning. Hence, if the Creator afflicts when he has no spirituality, the suffering compels a person to make great efforts until he must obtain the spirituality that he feels he lacks. Okay, so once again, it's like when we get problems, we, rather than thank the Creator, we like to curse the Creator, right? So when we curse at our lives, we're actually doing the same thing as cursing the Creator. So whenever I feel bad, a person feels bad, let's say, he or she is actually cursing their life and cursing the Creator, because all our life is organized by the Creator or by life. This is why during the day when you go out to work, everything that really happens to you is out of your control. You know, you go to work, something happens, you're on the road in the traffic. Anything that happens to you is completely out of your control. So we're kind of like floating around, walking on this planet, and anything can happen at any one time. So we don't have any control. So what happens is a person is going through problems, and the Kabbalists are saying, well, that's actually a good thing. So they're asking that question, well, how can that be a good thing? The purpose of life is to be happy, all right? So how can it be that the Creator loves me and is slapping me around all the time? You know, how could that be? Well, that's for our development. In order for us to be happy, we have to attain happiness. We have to grow up. This is why every branch wants to resemble the root. So we also need to resemble our root. So until we get to that resemblance, we have to go through this growth phase. And that growth phase encompasses all of the afflictions that we're going through, and we will go through. And as humanity, we're going to go through a lot of dramas as well. And because the only way to change is through suffering. Because if, like I said, if we had a good life, nobody would want to change. But if humanity is suffering, then they'll want to change. They'll start thinking about, what do I need to do to get out of this life? So affliction is actually a good thing, even though it makes us feel pretty bad. Okay, so life is really pushing us, forcing us, compelling us to do all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty much raising us. Okay. Isoke is asking a question from a friend in the 10. If spirituality doesn't have a gender, then why aren't women in all meetings, gatherings of friends, or why are the meetings separated? Well, spirituality doesn't have gender, but in our world we do. And if we're not in spirituality at the moment, okay, which we're not in spirituality at the moment, so what do I have to do? I have to make sure I focus properly. So what we want to do, the reason Kabbalists arrange a nice tight framework is so that our minds don't wander off, right? That's why. It's not because women are less. It's not because women don't deserve more lessons. Actually, women are in the morning lesson as well. However, though, the reason we don't do it all mixed up is because we want to focus and concentrate. And man's mind is quite weak, as you can probably imagine, not even imagine, you probably know. Our thoughts are wandering everywhere all the time. In fact, our thoughts have wandered in so many directions that we have invented all kinds of silly things, like all kinds of, games and gadgets, instead of asking ourselves the most relevant question: what's the meaning of life? So instead of all that, what are we doing? Playing ball games, playing video games, and wasting time with all kinds of stupid things in life. Why? Simply because we're just not growing up. So our mind is never where it should be. So during the spiritual study, during the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah, The right setup is very important. The right settings are really important so that we can actually really focus on getting the job done. Nice question though. But women also have gathering of friends for themselves. That's on Saturday evenings. I think it's from 5 to 5:30, something like that. Women also have a lesson with the Rav as well on Fridays. I think it's from 4 to 5, because 3 to 4 it's for us, then 4 to 5 it's for the ladies, and then they've got their own gathering of friends as well. So women also have activities, and also women are also in the morning lessons as well in their own tents. We just don't see them on the screen. There's actually nothing to stop anyone from studying. So as long as you got a 10, you're in there, you're studying, that's fine. Let's read a little bit more. You have not a blade of grass below that does not have an angel that strikes and tells it, grow. We should ask why it needs to strike it, or it does not want to grow. After all, we see that in nature, each and every one wants to grow and not to be small. To understand this, we need to interpret this in the work. By nature, as long as one is immersed in the earth, he relinquishes any kind of greatness and wants to remain in earthliness. However, there's a force from above called an angel, and an angel is a force that bestows and strikes him and tells him, grow. In other words, it strikes him with its power to bestow, with its power of bestowal, and tells him, grow. Come out of your earthliness, although one is born with a desire to receive, called earthliness. So once again, as you can see here, life is pushing us to grow, just like it's pushing plants, animals, children also. Instinctively, they're just being pushed by nature so they can grow. And same with us as well. When we're adults as well, what do? We want to add new things to ourselves all the time. We read books to learn more, to know more. I don't know, even if we're in a profession, we get continuous professional education to make sure we're up to standards all the time, or we increase our standards. We are always, being pushed in life to do more and more and more, to develop more and more and more. And that's a natural process. Well, the same thing needs to happen with our spirituality as well. So in order to push that person to do more, just like in life here, the system pushes us to do more. So in spirituality as well, life is, kind of like focusing us, guiding us so that we can actually grow from all these dramas. And that's the only way to actually get out of our earthliness. Earthliness being our desire to receive for ourselves. Other than that, though, there's not much to compel a person to want to grow spiritually. I'm talking about, obviously, if there is no pushing force from behind. So initially, when a person comes to the wisdom of Kabbalah, obviously that dot in the heart is very important. So once the dot in the heart awakens and a person begins to feel this emptiness about life, why are we living? What's this all for? There's nothing here. So we're going through all these inner discernments, and then we're thinking, what's the meaning of life? And then once we, come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and we begin to understand that life has a higher purpose, which is to take us to an elevated state. Once we begin to understand that, and we're working towards that, then all the obstacles that a person gets in life become much more meaningful. Because normally, if you look at people on the street, they're always thinking, oh, why me? That's the biggest question. It's a $1 billion question. Why me? So why not? Why are you so special? So why not? The answer to that is because we don't know what's going on with our lives. So in the wisdom of Kabbalah, though, when you're going through problems, you understand that the problem is not a problem. The problem is the leverage. The problem is actually the tool you're going to use to build your new state. So the whole outlook, the whole approach to life's dramas takes a whole different perspective when you study wisdom of Kabbalah, right? Because it just, puts you in focus. You can relate to everything in a really proper way. Okay. Another question from Isake. Another question from a friend in the 10. We've been hearing more often mention of the Zohar. Should the Zohar be scanned or read daily? Not really. I think what we should all be doing is, like the Rav said, actually, we should all be working on the material that we study during the day. Soon, like the Rav said as well, we're going to start studying Tas, the Talmud Eser Sefrot, the study of the 10 Sefrot. So once we, once we feel ready to study that, hopefully in a few months, Rav said, we'll begin to look at it from a different perspective, from a spiritual perspective. So that'll be a good thing for us. But reading the Zohar on your own during the day, I don't think I don't think it's gonna stick much, especially without being first through the preliminary steps, what we need to focus on right now, which are the things at the morning lesson. So this is why also the Rav's always saying, chew the lesson again, go through the materials again. Okay, so these things are important. We always have to, study what we're ready to absorb. So if something is going to be beyond me, like I said with the example, I can't teach my 2-year-old son what a 5-year-old is learning, because he's not there. He's just going to be blurred. He's going to be frustrated. He's going to lose his confidence. He's just not going to be able to do stuff because it's just above him. So he'll just lose his motivation altogether. So the best thing to do is always, raise the child according to his condition, according to the child's character, according to the child's age, the capacity of the kid, and so on. So same with us, what we have to do is really make sure we're chewing the morning lesson material so we can actually, really embed everything we've learned in the morning lesson during the day inside of us. And that'll actually prepare us for the next morning lesson as well. All right, having said that, we're going to call it a night. And we're gonna see you guys next Tuesday, hopefully. And once again, I apologize for last Tuesday. I was really under the weather, and I just couldn't move. So this is why we had a bit of a drama last week. So hopefully next week, everything will be back on track. Until then, have a great week, and see you guys in the morning lesson as well. All the best. Bye-bye.